Hello and welcome to Odessa. This is Dresden's Tale, Episode 9. I'm your host, Lewis Nichols. This is the show where we follow Dresden Fane, the dwarven adventurer, a warrior, as he goes on about his business of his early adventuring career. He makes friends, he gets himself in trouble, he gets out of trouble, he loses his friends. It's becoming a cycle of sorts. So we're here on Odessa, one little pocket plane among many. Traveled here through the mysterious magical gates connecting it to Moldav, Dresden's home. Odessa, as you would know if you're keeping up, if you've been on here for previous episodes, is a desert plain. It very rarely rains here. It's dry, it's dusty, there's not a lot of wind, and Dresden complains a lot about how uncomfortable it is. Now let's see if we can hear some of that complaining. It's never far away. This is Chapter 8. It is the 4th day of Rudy. 2,051 years after the fall. Donald rushes into the barracks at a gallop. Some of us are going north. He was very excited, nearly in a tizzy. Dresden didn't move. It was just too hot. He was beginning to think he'd never acclimate to the scorching white sun. Despite the red brick building's ample windows, there was no breeze. They'd been in town for just a few days. They're in Gengendale now. And everybody had been hoping for a quick crossover across the gates, but it didn't happen. Turns out it was only Karen that was going to get to go home. She had been reassigned to a different squad, and it just so happened that they were getting rotated back. Earlier, the two had said their goodbyes. Karen asked, "Is it worth it? Mongrel Slayer," she joked with Dresden. Completely a bringer of death, even if no one else ever hears about it. He watched her go with her new squad, thinking it had already begun. She was off. His little group of friends was breaking up. Drayle had been assigned to a different bunkhouse. Only Donald was the only one in the room that he knew. It was a sad commentary on the state of things, Dresden thought. When Donald came rushing into the room, Dresden wasn't the only one there. Ralph the mouse biter jumped up out of his top bunk and flapped his semi-functional wings, managed to land on the floor, knocking dust everywhere. "The fuck you say? North?" Ralph was a pterodon, like a reptilian, kind of a thin saurian, but with wings. Dresden coughed, choking at the dust. "Mother of the dead! Mouse, the air just cleared." "Sorry, Grumpy. I thought you'd be excited at the chance to get out of here," he remarked glibly and turned back to Donald. "So north, past the mountains, into untamed and unexplored lands?" His gray-green hands moved about as if he couldn't speak without them. In turn, this caused his wings to flap around, continuing to stir the already dusty air. Officially, Dresden's punishment was over, but it didn't really feel like it. It would take him days to get his rest caught up on. Chainmail certainly wasn't made for sleeping in. Dresden knew he was irritable. His temper a slow burn. It's controlled just enough for him to get out of the room without picking a fight. He finally found a patch of shade down the street and just sat there. Summer was not at all living up to his expectations. He grumbled to himself. The rest the rest would go off north, and he'd surely be stuck there, standing on a wall somewhere, looking out for dangers that would never come. Worse than that, they might realize that he wasn't much of a fighter, and realize that his pocket space ability as a warlock would send him on courier duty, taking elites too lazy to walk back and forth between Gengendale and Orlok's Cove. As he started to settle down, he fantasized about a mug of mountain cooled ale. Just made him even more depressed, though. Warm water and spice bread was all a guard got. That seemed to be his eternal fate. If he was lucky, could be even worse. Elsewise, it'd probably be axe handles and transport duty for the rest of the summer. A lot of warriors in the city pass their time with shopping or gambling or buying drinks at the local bars, but he didn't have any clout. He wasn't enough of a veteran, not even serving a full season to get much in the way of entertainment. He didn't have any money to spend at the stalls. He managed to grab up some Hessian money, but that was worthless here. Little stray coins of silver and flecks of gold. There was just nothing for him to do. Alone and in silence, he watched his nemesis, the sun, drop below the horizon. Maybe there was just a hint of cool breeze to comfort him. He thought that maybe he was in just too big of a hurry. He couldn't be a hero in his first year. There was just too much to do, and if he earned it too easily, what would be the point anyway? Maybe his duty on the wall would only last a few years. After that, maybe he'd get another chance to prove himself. He was a dwarf, after all. He was going to be around for a while if an enemy spear didn't find him first. He could certainly expect to live well past 200 years and still be in his prime. Sitting there on the street, he eventually fell asleep, dreaming of adventure and being back home. Wake up. Dresden's eyes slowly opened. He looked up, and Mousebiter flopped down there next to him. If the town guards find you, you'll be back in chainmail. They're not much for partisan vagrants. I'm not a vagrant. You're sleeping on the street. It's too damn noisy in the bunkhouse, Dresden complained. The pterodon gave a gravelly laugh. You're right about that. It's not even really a bunkhouse, just sort of an inn for the Stone Clan. Anyone can sleep there. Ralph was the first pterodon Dresden had spent any real time with. They were not native to Moldav or Odessa, instead coming from a plane also accessible through the Odessan Nexus, Manelia. Manelia was in many ways just the opposite of the desert land they were in now. Despite being born and raised in cooler climates, Mousebiter seemed to handle the heat just fine. Dresden considered the reptile to be average height, which meant much taller than he was. Long legs put him at nearly 6 feet tall. His skin was a complex panorama of greens and browns. Slow down. I can't understand anything that comes out of that beak of yours when you get going. Mouse had gone on a long and complicated explanation of the clan's housing on Gengendale. Dresden missed most of it, and he was glad he did. It was something that he wasn't particularly interested in at all. Finally, he decided the only way to keep the man quiet at all was to do his part of the talking. How long have you been in? In what? God save me. Dresden put his head in his hands. The militia, of course. You weren't listening. I'm not. Oh, I'm supposed to answer to the captains just like anybody else because they're sort of in charge around here. saves me getting much grief. I'm here for training." Dresden scratched his bald head. "So why are you so excited over Donald's news?" "It's not a militia mission. If I can go, you better believe me I will. Training sucks. I want to get deep into the sand out there, stir up some real trouble." Huh. Dresden hoped that would be enough. He felt like he'd accomplished something holding up his part of the conversation. "We're gonna be great friends, you know." Ralph sort of smiled. Dresden sighed. It was hard work yapping all day. "Maybe I'll go see if the woodshop is open overnight. Is chatting with me really so bad? If I'm going to be up, I might as well be productive." Mousebiter threw his arms up and his wings went flying wildly. "Fine, but the house is empty. They all went to the bar a little ways down the street. Bunkhouse is nice and quiet." Dresden considered it, but told Ralph he was off to the shop. When the warrior didn't follow, he worked his way around to the back of the bunkhouse and was glad to find he hadn't been lied to. Slipping into his bed, he fell soundly asleep. So, that's gonna do it for chapter 8. This was a little bit of a regrouping episode where Dresden's got ready to take on a new mission. Spoilers: he is going to get picked up for the mission to the north, and things are gonna escalate for him a little bit, at least for a few chapters. We're gonna meet some new people, get into some fights, do all the exciting stuff that warriors do. So I want to thank you all for stopping by, hanging out for chapter 9 with me. Leave a like if you enjoyed it. Feel free to leave a dislike as well. Any kind of feedback is always welcome. Any comments or anything on my any visit to my Twitter at Lewis Nichols. You can get station updates there. I'm gonna start trying to tweet every day to give little updates, a little encouragement to myself. The Patreon page is up and running. You can certainly come visit. There will be perks available once I figure out what those might be. Of course, by the time you hear this, I will have figured that out. Probably. The book, Dresden's Tale, Volume 1, is available for download for Kindle readers. That is another way you can support me. Got a few other short stories up there too, not Dresden related. But as always, it is enough that you just drop by and give us a listen. So I want to thank you all very much for that, and have an absolutely wonderful day.